Today I'm going to teach you a strategy that I'm sure you've already learned, and you may have learned it under many different names. It's a strategy that you've most likely been using since at least third grade. And it's a strategy around turning your question or your prompt, which is a seventh grade word for an essay question or a short answer question, turning your prompt into the first sentence of your paper. And it's technically not the first sentence of your paper because the first sentences of your paper are usually your hook. But when we say the first sentence, what we mean is really turning it into either your topic sentence if you're doing a shorter response using the race strategy, or the claim, or what we may refer to as a thesis statement if you're writing a longer piece like an essay. So if you're familiar with the race strategy, the R in race strategy, restate the question, is really what this strategy is all about. So there are a few different a few different names for this strategy. I call it TTQA, which is an acronym that stands for turn the question around. Um, and it's basically just flipping the question and using parts of the question to begin your claim or your thesis statement. Some teachers call it flip the question. Other teachers can call it steal and slide. Doesn't matter what they call it. It's all the same strategy. And you may have learned it in a more basic strategy in a basic way, but I'm going to teach you today how to make it a little bit more elevated so that your writing sounds a little bit more like what you'd expect from a seventh or eighth grader. Once you learn this strategy, it will work for any prompt that you get in front of you. So let's continue. Let's look at what the steps are. So the first step of the TTQA, or with any prompt, the very first step that we've already learned is to do the do what strategy. So the very first thing you need to do when you're given a essay, or you're given a test, or you're given some sort of text to read, is you really want to make sure you know what the writing portion is and what the writing prompt is you need to focus on. You want to do that first because ultimately what you're writing about, your writing is where you're going to get the most points on any test or on any SBAC activity or whatever. But ultimately, your writing and your essay is what is going to focus you in when you're reading. So you know what you're looking for, you know what you're annotating, so that you don't have to go back and do it twice. I apologize for my dogs. So the first step is to do the do what strategy. That will help you to identify exactly what you need to do, what you need to be looking for, what the focus of your essay is. So you do that first. Then the next step of the TTQA strategy is to read the prompt. So you have obviously read it to do the do what strategy. You're familiar with it. You've spent a little bit of time going through it, and you've looked through, you found your verbs, you found your sort of parts of the prompt that tell you what you need to be doing. But in this case, you're going to be looking for your first step of the TTQA after you do the do what strategy is to find your question words. And your question words are easy. There are 5 of them: who, what, when, where, why, and how. 90% of the time in middle school essays, your prompt is going to begin with either the question word why or how, because those are really higher level types of writing prompts. You don't tend to get the what, the when, the where, those sorts of questions, because they really can be answered usually in one sentence. So you need to look for them. Um, and they're very often at the very beginning of your question. So you're going to find them, and when you find them, you're going to cross them out. You're going to put a big X through them. And it's important that you do that because that's going to tell you that we're not using that, and we're not using anything before that. So it's kind of a visual cue to you to let you know that, hey, we don't need this part. Then what you're going to do is you're going to look whatever is to the right of your question word, and you're going to steal that. You're going to steal whatever the author of that question has given you, and you're going to steal it right out of the prompt, and you're going to use it as the beginning of your essay prompt. So you're going to begin writing your claim or your thesis statement by starting with a capital letter, and you're going to copy everything that is to the right of the question word, all the way to the mark of punctuation. Most of the time, the mark of punctuation is going to be a question mark, but it may also be a period. So, for example, if the question prompt read, "We have read A Long Walk to Water, explain how Naya helps her sister occur," you're going to find your question word. So in this particular example, the question word is how. So I imagine right now, if you can just visualize it in your head, that I'm crossing out the word how. I'm crossing it out because I don't need anything to do with it, and I don't need anything to the left of it. I need everything from the right of the question word to the mark of punctuation. So I'm just going to copy it, right? So Naya helps her sister occur. I went right up until the mark of punctuation and I stole it directly from the prompt. Now, this next piece is really what's going to make your writing sound great. Here's where you link what you stole from the prompt with your explanation or your reasons. So this can be a little tricky for students, but it really doesn't need to be. It's a really clear formula based on what question word. So after you've stolen whatever is to the right of the question word up through the mark of punctuation, you now need to add a linking phrase or a linking word to connect what you stole from the prompt with your reason or reasons. Usually you'll have more than one. If the question word was how, you're going to link what you've already written with your reasons by using the words how, by, in, or in that. So those are how you're going to connect those. And don't worry if this doesn't make sense right now. We're going to try this a bunch of times so it makes sense. All you need to know is that if the question word is how, you're going to use the phrase to link it by, in, or in that. If the question word is why, you're 99% of the words going to 99% of the time going to use the word because. So for example, if the question was, how does Naya help her sister occur? You're going to use in that. So Naya helps her sister occur in that. Or you might say, Naya helps her sister occur by blank. Either of those phrases would work. If the question was, why do the men in Naya's village, why do the men come to Naya's village? You would use the linking word because. The men come to Naya's village because. All you're doing is putting a phrase to connect what you stole from the question with your reasons. And it's a super easy formula. Your last step of the TTQA is to add your reasons and end with a mark of punctuation, which is 99% of the time going to be a period. Now, you can't add your reasons before you read your text, but you can do the TTQA before you read the text. So ultimately, this TTQA should give you the beginning of your thesis statement or your claim and guide exactly what it is that you're going into the text looking for. So let's read the example that I came up with. We read A Long Walk to Water. We all know how Naya helps her sister. So let's just imagine that was our prompt. Naya helps her sister occur. That's the part I stole from the question. In that, there's my linking phrase. She watches her while they walk to the watering hole. She shows her how to collect the water, and she shows her how to boil the water. Those would be my 3 reasons that I would use after I've collected and read the text. Those would be developed maybe each in a body paragraph, but those would be my reasons that I had the linking phrase that connected with what I stole from the original question. So let's go through now and let's do some questions and an ed puzzle to learn a little bit more about the TTQA. It sounds complicated, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And once you get the hang of it, there isn't a prompt out there that you can't write a strong claim or thesis statement to. Let's get going on it.